So it was a normal day at work. Went to work, did the thing at the office, and hung out, and stocked a little bit of freight, and just, you know, it was a normal day. It's very hard for me to tell you that I ever have an unusual day, or a difficult day, or a complicated day, or an infuriating day, because most of my days are pretty much the same. Unimportant administrative activities. Talking to people at the Salvation Army about some kind of thing related to next Christmas's kettle bell ringing campaign, or talking to people about planning how many storage containers they're going to need at stores to store Christmas merchandise in going into the holidays. Random little things like that. Anyway, day wrapped up, went out there, and I decided I was going to go to the Walmart Deli and get some food. And for whatever reason, this seemed appealing to me at the time. Some kind of breaded deli food that I could eat out of the bag and then enjoy while I walked home in the 100-degree evening sun. So the point I'm getting at here is I walk up to the counter, and I always dread going to the deli counter. Normally I don't do it because there's not enough people in there, and they are all kind of overworked, and they look like they're stressed out, and it just seems like you don't want to make their already bad day worse. So you think, well, I just won't go over there. Or there's 2 or 3 people, customers, hanging around, sort of trying to get some variety of service, and you just don't really want to add yourself to that circus. And once in a while, there's not a line there. And I decide to myself, I think I'm going to just give it a shot. Go over there and get something out of this deli case. Because I work here, I'm there already, like, why not? So I do it. And I just get this sense of anxiety. Anxiety at the counter. Because I can kind of sense that the employees behind the counter are a little bit frustrated that one more person has come to disturb their peace. And you can just kind of tell they're not having a good time in there. There's like 2 of them. 2 people to run 2 service counters and also probably run the fryer and clean up and do all the other things that have to be done in a deli. Like, there's just not enough people in there, and they're all frazzled. You can just see it, you can feel it. So then I walk up there, I'm looking around, and I'm just kind of like, well, give me some chicken tenders. And I thought about getting some potato wedges too, but then a couple people came up behind me. And I felt like I was kind of pushing my luck, you know? Like, when you ask somebody who already looks like they're stressed out for something, you don't want to just add another thing on the plate. It's like that straw that breaks a camel's back, you know? And I didn't want to be that final straw that broke them. So I was just like, yeah, give me a couple pounds of chicken tenders. And then that stresses them out because they're like, you can't order them by the pound. You can do 2, or you can do 4, or you can do 8, or you can do 12, or you can do 16. And then I was like, wait, what were those numbers again? And I guess 8 will be 8 is good. 8 is perfect. Let's do 8. And they jammed them in the bag, and they mustered a smile, and I got them, and I made my way out of there. And then I breathed a sigh of relief. I had navigated that situation. I got through a transaction at the deli service counter at the Walmart. And now let's compare that to a trip to something like Chick-fil-A or some of the fast food restaurants, which do a really good job, even something like Starbucks. You go in there and you got a bunch of people, and they're all pretty happy. They give the vibe that they're happy to see you. And part of the reason why you want to go there is actually because you probably want the social interaction of engaging with the people at the counter. And now maybe those people are just working a job. They're looking forward to when they can clock out and go home. But they give off the vibe that they're having a good time. They look like they are privileged to serve. And when you look around, it looks like there's enough people to do the job correctly. And it's night and day what kind of an experience you have. And I think it's really interesting, and I see this at Walmart a lot because I work at Walmart. But this is not a problem which is unique just to Walmart. It's something that happens in a lot of situations where people will say, well, you have to invest in a good customer experience. You have to deliver quality results. But on the backside, you're not creating the culture which is going to enable people to produce those results. Or rather, maybe I guess the better way to put this is you're not creating the infrastructure which is going to be conducive to a culture that produces positive results. If you set someone up to fail and then you tell them to have an attitude of success, it's not going to be the same as if you set them up to succeed and then you encourage them to refine their success. Too often we don't give people the tools they need to do a job, and then we wonder why they cut corners. You know, it's like if you're stocking fresh product in a retail environment, go to the dairy department, all right? And if you've worked retail, maybe you know this. And if you haven't worked retail, well, all right, just imagine this, all right? You've got a case of cream cheese, and you have 6 pallets of freight that you have to work, because if you don't, no one's going to do it. And you have a limited amount of time to get that done because you're not allowed to work overtime. So you got your 6 pallets of freight to work. You're the overnight stocker, and you have this case of cream cheese that's going to expire in however long it is, like 3 months from now. You go over there to the place where the cream cheese is, and there's 200 of them sitting in there. You're that night shift stocker. What are you going to do? Are you going to pull out a couple hundred blocks of cream cheese so that you can put that new one in the back and rotate it? Or are you going to just jam it in there and move on? Just be real. No, you're going to jam it in there and move on, because you can jam it in there real quick and be done and move on to the next box. Or you could spend the next 8.5 minutes sorting all of those individual items to pull them out, to put them back in, so that you can say that you correctly rotated the product. And then somebody is going to come through You know, if you're a manager, you're going to go through, you're going to look, you're going to check, and you're going to say, oh my goodness, you aren't rotating this product. You got to rotate the product. Okay. Well, that's fine. Sounds good. Now, if you had an army of people to where everyone has plenty of time to do their job, then that might be a whole different conversation. But if you have sort of a bare bones team of people, well, don't be surprised when they kind of cut corners a little bit. Now, hopefully they don't cut big corners. Hopefully they use good judgment and understand there's a difference between something that expires a year from now and something that expires 3 days from now. But that doesn't change the fact that people are going to cut corners to some degree on a basis of their judgment when you give them a task which they feel they cannot complete correctly in the given time that they have. So if you want people to be surgical about something, you have to give them the resources to actually do that. And if you don't, you can't be surprised when the outcome is poor, just like the people at the deli counter. Now, I could criticize them and I could say, well, these people are not giving off a good vibe of customer service because they're not the right kind of customer-facing employees. Well, and that's not incorrect. It's true. Somebody who's very customer-driven is going to do a better job than someone who isn't. But that doesn't change the fact that if you put 2 people in a department that probably should have 6 or 8, the quality of the service, the quality of the products, the quality of the outcome and the level of discipline they're going to operate with is going to be significantly less. So you can't really blame them as much as you have to blame the environment that you've produced that put them in a position where that's how they act, that's how they behave, and that's how they conduct themselves. Too often we try to address the side effect, we address the symptom, but we don't really want to address the root cause. Because if we wanted to address the root cause, then we'd have to dig deeper, we'd have to find more meaningful, measurable solutions that actually cost something to implement. There's a reason why boardroom conversations that turn into corporate initiatives wind up not being very good, because the people in the room who are having these conversations, who are saying, okay, here's a good idea, something we should do, well, those people aren't going to be enrolled for very long. They're going to be enrolled for 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. They're not going to be there in that particular room, in that particular role, to give account for what the consequences of their choices are 10 years down the road. So when you have people making 10-year decisions who have a 2-year runway, the end result is people make decisions that are going to benefit them in the moment instead of decisions which are going to benefit the cause as a broader whole. And then slowly people start to wonder, well, why is it that quality is starting to fade? Why is it that we're losing our sense of authenticity? Why is it that all of these things just kind of feel like their soul is kind of fading away a little bit? It's because people have been slowly undermining the integrity of the organization one little bit at a time, undiscernibly at first, but a little bit at a time, nevertheless, eroding it. I heard that Walgreens is going to be closing some stores. They are struggling. And apparently what they were doing is they had property, all these stores that they owned, they were selling. They were selling the land under their stores. And then they were renting their stores from the people who bought the property. So they were literally selling the business out from under themselves, literally. And then it kind of got to the point where they couldn't kick the can down the road anymore. There's no more stores to sell. Their leases are coming up. So now they're like, oh, I guess we gotta shut some stores down. We can't sustain this. And you got to ask the question, like, whose idea was this? That we're going to just sell the company's assets one little bit at a time out from under it. Maybe that seems like a good idea in the short term, but long term, is that really going to be the right call to right side the business and lead them into the future? And I don't know, but I'm going to say probably not. Probably it's something that is a way to kick a can down the road, maybe deliver a return for shareholder value, or make something that is a problem not a problem for a little bit longer. And it's, again, an example probably of short-sighted plans for long-term problems. The more you do that, the more you wind up with situations where somebody says something, it sounds good on paper. You can't point any fingers at the plan. It's not a bad plan. It's just, it doesn't work. That's the only thing about it. So there's that. And I'd rather have a plan that doesn't sound good at all, but is simple and it makes sense and it's backed by good fundamentals. And for that, many times you don't need a spreadsheet, you don't need a PowerPoint, you don't need a whole lot of calls and collectibles and complicated reports. You just do common sense things, and then you get a rational return on your investment. Just like financial investments, you're going to get the best return when you do things that just make sense. Not necessarily that you get the perfect timing, not necessarily that you pick the perfect stock, not necessarily that you are extremely educated in terms of how to do complex analysis of markets, nothing like that. Just be consistent and don't make stupid mistakes. And if you do things which have integrity, then long term you wind up doing better. But if you cut corners, well, eventually water finds its level, bubbles pop, pyramid schemes fall apart upon themselves, and people who have been doing an emperor's new clothes kind of scheme are revealed for exactly what they are: naked people in the street that are showing off who have nothing to show off. So, just one of those interesting things, right? What do you think about a trip to the deli counter? I don't know. I think that you're never going to have a very good experience at a Walmart deli. That's what I think. But you know what? That's okay. Because I don't know if anyone goes to Walmart thinking they're going to have an amazing experience. Like, that's one interesting thing I've thought about working for the company for so many years now. It's this fantasy that the people in leadership of the company have. They think Walmart is going to be this, like a Nordstrom kind of a place. Like, people are going to go to Walmart and they're going to say, oh my goodness, I had such a wonderful experience in there. Like, no, they are not. They never have. They never will. People go to Walmart because they get affordable things that are cheap, and there's a pretty good assortment of things that they can get. That's why people go there. They don't go there because it's fancy. They don't go there because it's an incredible experience. They don't go there because they enjoy the companionship of the employees, the associates. They go there because they want to get some cheap groceries. So if you try to over glamorize it and you try to make it to be more than that, well, you're kind of just lying to yourself, because I've never seen it be anything other than a trip of necessity where people go in just to do what they need to do. They're there to take care of business, and you know, that's what it is. Anyway, well, look at that. Playing ESO, running around collecting things. I have died somehow. I got killed by an NPC. Not crazy. Anyway, that's a good thing you can revive easily in Elder Scrolls Online. Because everything's so easy all the time in the Elder Scrolls Online, you kind of forget that once in a while there is something that might kill your character off in the overworld. Anyway, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks for watching.